Good morning, guys. We are in the kitchen today doing a little experiment. Earlier this week, I took some waxy potatoes and dehydrated them and made some like potato flakes or instant mashed potatoes out of them. They had an interesting texture. Schrader wasn't so sure about them. I wasn't so sure about them. So I'm going to try it with russet potatoes today and bring you guys along with me. This has been something I've wanted to try in order to use it as a backup if I am unable to store my potatoes in containers in my basement. We don't really have a root cellar, and I don't know if we'll be able to maintain the coldness and humidity level that potatoes prefer for long storage. So I'm interested in seeing if this could be a way to preserve them instead and free up some space, since it will condense them down into a much smaller volume once they've been dehydrated. This process is pretty much the same as making regular mashed potatoes. I'm going to peel my potatoes, chop them up a little bit, get them into some boiling water, and then they're going into my stand mixer and getting mixed really well because I want a nice smooth consistency. They're just potatoes. No, they're just potatoes. You don't like potatoes. So normally I would let these guys drive off some of the water for a little while by steaming here on the sink, but I might have to add some extra water anyway to get a nice spreadable smooth consistency for the dehydrator. So I'm just going to put these straight into my mixer. So this looks like a nice smooth consistency. I didn't have to add any extra water. I'm going to try it and see how well it spreads out. I may have to add some extra water later, but let's give this a try. So I just have some parchment paper here that I am going to spread this very thinly out on, and then they will go on my dehydrator trays and straight into the dehydrator. A bit of an idea, guys. Thought maybe using a roller might be easier than spreading it. Let's see how this works. Don't use quite as much space on the thing because it's hard to get it into the corners here, but it does make a nice thin even layer. So I went ahead and set this to about 125, and it says 14 hours, but we will check on it in a few hours and see how it's doing. This has been going for about 2 hours, guys, and it is starting to get fairly dry. So it did not take that long at all. I'm probably going to leave it in for another hour because there's just a few bits towards the center that are still not quite crispy. So we'll just kind of keep letting it go until everything's all the way dry, all the way through. It's been another few hours, and even now in the center is very dry and crisp. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out and we'll move on to the next step. So I don't have the strongest blender in the world, so I may need to use my Ninja Bullet that I have, but we're going to start off by just crumbling all of this into here and see how far we get. And this is what you're looking for, guys, a really crisp snap. It should not be damp at all, and it should crack nicely before you start this process. It definitely produces a lot of dust, so I'm going to go ahead and strain what I've got going out through a fine mesh strainer and probably put some of this back in here to process again. So this is what I ended up with, guys. It is a super fine powder, and we are going to see how it rehydrates and have a little taste and see what we think. So I'm going to go ahead and taste test this and give you my thoughts on it. I did add a little bit of cream and some water. We did not have any milk, so that was my alternative, and a little butter and salt. Yeah, tastes like mashed potatoes. Texture is not quite what you would expect. I guess it's a little more gluten-y, if that makes any sense, but it is not bad, and it's definitely something that I would eat on a weeknight as a quick meal. I would be interested if I could make up packets like they have in the store that are already flavored with like garlic and dried butter, maybe some dried butter powder and dried milk powder and stuff, because that would probably be a really nice thing to have on the shelves for like an emergency sort of situation. Yeah, tastes really good. I'm totally happy with that. That's all we have today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I went ahead and put this into a glass jar and put a lid on it, and it'll go on my shelf hopefully within the next couple weeks I'll find a couple different ways to use it in our weeknight meals and be able to report back to you how convenient it is, if we end up really liking it in the long term, and how well it stores. Let me know if you have any recipe ideas for this in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.